Hello, everyone. It's either Tuesday, October 8 or Wednesday, October 9, and this is your warm up for your quiz day. So, these are your answers for your warm up. This is just our first video that you can watch if you want to check your warm up answers and make sure you are getting prepared for your quiz. All right, so on your whiteboard, you should have responded to these questions. And if you haven't yet, please pause the video and respond to these, and then you'll check and see how you did. All right, so draw an energy pyramid based upon the food chain below. You want to label those trophic levels and show the energy loss that happens using arrows. All right, so we have algae, a tadpole, sunfish, a bass, and a heron. Okay, really truly pause and do this yourself first and then see if you got the answer right. All right, so hopefully your energy pyramid looks a little bit like this. You might not have been quite so detailed as you drew these pictures, and that's okay. But we want to have algae at the bottom level of this energy pyramid because those are our producers and they are going to be the biggest level of our energy pyramid. Then we had tadpoles next because they are eating the algae. Then we had the sunfish. Next, we had that largemouth bass. And finally, we had the great blue heron. Okay, so this is our energy pyramid. The most energy that is available is in this producer level, and we lose 90% each time, right? So we only send 10% up every time we go up a level. When we lose 90% of the energy, we say we're losing it rather as heat most of the time. All right. So I'm clicking and nothing's happening. There it goes. So the trophic levels, those are the nutrition levels basically, right? Those are your words like producer. So our producers are the bottom level, and then we have first order consumers or primary consumers, second order consumers or secondary consumers, and then we have tertiary or third order consumers. And our great blue heron up here is another tertiary consumer. It's actually fourth level technically right now, but we'll still just call him a tertiary or her, whatever they are. All right, so these are our trophic levels. Remember that word trophic has to do with nutrition and how each level is getting its energy. All right, so losing energy, we do lose energy every time we go from one level to another, and we lose a lot of it. So remember, we're losing 90% of the energy every time we go up a level. Okay, and if you want to think back to when we talked about our sun bucks or units of energy with the grass, and then there was a bunny rabbit, and then there was a fox, every single time an organism was eaten, it lost 90% of its energy and it only sent 1/10 or 10% up to the next organism that ate it. All right, 90% that is lost due to heat or thermal energy. It's lost because it's supporting all the life processes. Okay, 10%, however, does get to move on. So these tadpoles are eating algae. They get 10% of all of the energy that was available in that level. And then next, when that sunfish eats a tadpole, he gets 10% or she gets 10% of the energy. Then finally, that bass is going to get 10% and the blue heron. We pass up or pass along 10% of the energy every time we go up one level. All right, so time for review. You are either going to be doing a Kahoot in class if the sub is able to do that, or you're going to have to go through and do a quizzes in class that would be independent using a link in Schoology. But before that, I want you to do a couple things more on your whiteboard. Ready? Let's go on the whiteboard. First, I want you to draw this chart on your whiteboard. And if you need to ask somebody near you for help with this, that's fine. We have a producer, a consumer, and a decomposer. Okay, each one of these is a category, and we're going to fill in some information. All right, I want you to write a definition down in your own words for each one of these terms. Write it down. Don't just click or keep watching the video to see what I say. I want you to try to write it down because you want to make sure you're ready for your quiz, right? So even if you're writing bullet points, I want you to write something down for each one of these things. All right, and you can pause and then come back. Okay, so these are the organisms that we're going to put in our columns where they fit the best. All right. And just in case you didn't know this, a bacterium, oh, I can't move that. Sorry, I can't move that. One bacterium, that means there's only one of them. If you have a whole bunch of them, they are called bacteria. So bacterium is singular and bacteria is plural, just so you know about that. All right, so you have written a definition of producer, a definition of consumer, and a definition of decomposer. And now I want you to put all of these organisms in their correct columns. So pause the video and do that. All right, now check your work. If you didn't actually do it yet, please pause again. All right, so your producer, roughly, you're going to say something like, through photosynthesis, the producer uses the sun's energy to produce its own energy. If we want to define consumer, that's one organism that eats other organisms for energy or consumes other organisms. But for the most part, we're talking about eating. And then our decomposer breaks down dead matter and returns the nutrients back into the environment. So usually that's back into the soil or maybe back into water. All right, so how about the organisms that we were putting on here? Grass and seaweed, those are producers. They produce their own energy through photosynthesis and using sunlight. When I look at my consumers, that would be the bald eagle and the grizzly bear. They are consuming other organisms. And then finally, our decomposer. Here were the examples that we had. Earthworms are decomposers, and also bacteria, or one bacterium. Just wanted to make sure that you know that word is just a singular version of multiple bacteria. Okay, so you can erase most of what you've got on your whiteboard, and now you're going to do another chart, and you're going to say food chain, food web, and energy pyramid. Okay, make sure you've got those titles. And you're going to write a definition and just draw a quick picture for each. And again, please really do this because it's going to help you be prepared for your quiz. Don't just continue watching the video and say in your own mind, oh yeah, I knew that was the case. Make sure you're writing stuff down. So pause. All right, so a definition for food chain is that it's a diagram showing one way that energy flows through an ecosystem, one single pathway. Okay, and here's an example. You might have done something shorter. Okay, a food web, of course, is going to be a diagram that shows all the different ways that energy is passed through an ecosystem. So you'll have several food chains kind of overlapping. And then lastly, we have an energy pyramid. That energy pyramid is a diagram that shows the amount of energy available at each feeding level or trophic level of that ecosystem. And it's a visual to show you that that bottom level with the producers has the most energy. And as we move up, we lose energy. So by the time you're at the top there, you have far less energy available. All right, and now just quickly think about these things. So you can just write qual or quant or inf on your whiteboard if you want. So if the statement is, I saw there were insects, fungus, and worms in that pile of soil, which one of these is that going to be? And we're going to say that's a qualitative observation. That's what you see. Okay, you just see some stuff in that pile of soil. It didn't count anything, it didn't use any numbers, and I didn't say they were decomposing the soil, I just said what I saw. Okay, so now I'm going to say the dissolved oxygen reading decreased. This must be due to not having enough plants in our ecosystem. Well, the dissolved oxygen reading decreased, and I am speculating, I'm thinking about why that could be. So this one's going to be an inference because I use some of my background knowledge also, not just my observation. The pond pH is 3.7. I believe this is due to decomposing plants in the pond because remember, things that decompose in water or whatever situation, they're going to make things more acidic. They're going to lower that pH number. Well, I am having a reading of 3.7, so that part is quantitative, but then I'm thinking about what I know. I know that plants are decomposing, and that can lower the pH. So this is also going to be an inference, because I'm using background knowledge too. Our data for today included the following. Nitrates are 0.25 parts per million. DO is 8.21 milligrams per liter, and pH is 8.1. Those are all just numbers that I used tools to measure. I didn't make any thoughts about them that I wrote down, so this is just going to be a quantitative observation. Or actually, it's 3 different quantitative observations. All right, if you have not done so, please restart your computer now. So you have restarted your computer. If you are able to do a Kahoot in the class with the substitute teacher, please do that. If you're not able to do the Kahoot as a group, then I want you to please click on the word quizzes here, and you're going to do a quizzes practice. I think it's 16 questions. It's very similar to the quiz that you're about to take. And after about 15 minutes, the sub will say, it is time for your quiz. So do as many of these questions as you can, and then you're going to complete your actual quiz. It's informative. There's a link for you in Schoology, and so you only want to be in the formative quiz while you're taking the quiz. When you finish, go ahead and close your computer, and then we will finish our lesson with a second video. You have about 15 minutes. If people need a little bit longer, that's okay. So good luck. Please read the questions all the way through. Make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. Read all of the possible answers and make sure you're choosing the best answer. Super good luck. This is the end of our first video. And when you come back, you're going to be learning about watersheds.